Over time, things started getting personal between them. Wow, that's wild. Hey guys, it's Sean, and welcome back to Trace Zero. This past September 11th, 2025, in the Muju Mountains of North Jeolla Province, South Korea, someone stumbled upon the body of a young woman. At first, no one had any idea who she was, but once she was finally identified, it turned out the victim was Yoon Ji Ah, a famous South Korean influencer and streamer known for her cheerful personality and for being incredibly close with her fans. But unfortunately, her life came to a dark end that no one could have ever imagined. So, what really happened behind this tragic turn of events? And why was her body found so far from home on a mountain she had absolutely no connection to? One thing is for sure, this case is a grim reminder to be careful about who we meet online. Guys, brace yourselves because this story is truly heartbreaking. Let's dive right in because you never know how deep this hole goes. For those of you who might not have heard of her, Yoon Ji Ah was born in South Korea on February 10th, 2000, making her just 25 years old. Now, her talent in front of the camera was obvious from the start, guys. Her family said she was always such a cheerful little girl, super talkative, and incredibly confident whenever a camera was around. So, when she finally jumped into the online world as an entertainer, no one around her was surprised. Her personality was just a perfect fit for it. So, she started out by just uploading. She posted these lighthearted vlogs about her lifestyle, beauty tips, and daily routines. From there, she started building a following. People were just drawn to her because she was so friendly and expressive. She had this way of making you feel right at home watching her. Her fans always said that watching Yoon Ji Ah felt like hanging out with someone who just had the best vibes. She was so much fun to be around. And guys, on top of making videos, she eventually started live streaming too. Word is, whenever she went live, she'd always make a point to greet her viewers with the warmest smile. She was so friendly that she actually remembered the names of her most loyal followers. Her openness made people feel so connected to her, not just as fans or followers, but as friends. And because of that, it didn't take long before, well, things took a turn. Yoon Ji Ah's social media accounts just blew up. She managed to rack up over 350,000 followers on TikTok. Wow. From that point on, Yoon Ji Ah started making a name for herself as one of South Korea's rising influencers, successfully blending beauty content with interactive live streams. She didn't just stick to one platform, she was live on several of South Korea's most popular streaming apps. But out of all of them, she was most active on TikTok. And man, if you ever caught one of her live streams, she was always so bubbly, full of energy, and just a joy to watch. Plus, she was absolutely stunning. So, if you ever caught one of her live streams, you'd see the comment section was filled with people from all over the world. Her fan base was everywhere. Indonesia, the Philippines, I even saw people commenting in Spanish, Portuguese, you name it.
Guys, thank you for coming my live streaming and thank you for supporting me and thank you for tap and join my team everyone. arigato 사쿠라. 다 이렇게 하더라고요. So see you next.
So, this past Thursday, September 11th, 2025, Ji Ah went live just like she always did. But this time, she was broadcasting from Yongjong Island in Incheon. The stream went on as usual, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and she wrapped it up around 3 p.m. Korea time. Now, what her fans didn't know at the time was that her family had been trying to get a hold of her all afternoon, but they couldn't get through. They called her twice, but Ji Ah didn't pick up. Since this was completely out of character for her, they started to panic. The news reported the discovery of a woman's body in a meadow within the Muju Mountains of North Jeolla province. According to the reports, the victim was a young woman found in horrific condition. Her body had been stuffed inside a suitcase, covered in bruises, with clear ligature marks around her neck from strangulation. Oh my God. I can't even imagine what her family must be going through right now. The police later stated that due to the extensive bruising and the marks around her neck, they've concluded that this is a homicide investigation. Now, even though the news was blowing up, the family was still in a state of denial. They were desperately trying to convince themselves that it wasn't her. Unfortunately, their worst fears were confirmed when the police called to tell them that the case was indeed linked to their family member, Yoon Ji Ah. Naturally, when the police reached out, the family was in total denial. They were like, no, there's no way. That can't be Gia. They kept insisting that she was just live streaming a few hours ago and was still active on social media with no red flags at all. To them, it was just impossible. But once the police officially confirmed everything, the heartbreaking truth came out. It really was Gia. Once the identity was confirmed, the police moved forward with the next step, sending her body for an autopsy to get a definitive identification. The autopsy results revealed that Gia's cause of death was asphyxiation due to neck compression, which led to suffocation. Combined with the extensive injuries and bruising all over her body, the police concluded that she had been strangled before she passed away. This means the bruises and injuries were seen as signs of a struggle. On top of that, the autopsy confirmed that Gia's death was a clear-cut case of homicide. This means it happened only about 27 minutes, nearly half an hour after her live stream ended. But here's the thing, her body was found nowhere near her last known location. It turns out, the mountain where she was discovered is actually more than a 3-hour drive away. That's nearly 300 kilometers away from where she was last seen alive. This means the killer must have moved her body to cover their tracks. But incredibly, it was discovered that very same afternoon. Someone stumbled upon the site and called it in to the Korean police. Damn. Once she was identified, the police didn't waste any time. They immediately started retracing her final steps, looking into her last online activity, who she was interacting with, and exactly where she was. They were digging into everything to figure out what she was doing there. Through the investigation, and like we touched on earlier, authorities were able to confirm that Gia was last spotted in the Yeongjong Island area of Incheon. The police rushed to the area and immediately started scouring every CCTV camera they could find, from local shops to street surveillance. They eventually found footage from 3:27 p.m. showing a middle-aged man, likely in his 52nds, seen forcing Gia into his car just as she was desperately trying to get out. The timing lines up perfectly with the autopsy report 15:27. That's right around 30 minutes after she wrapped up her live stream that afternoon. This CCTV footage became the smoking gun because it caught the suspect red-handed. The police immediately shifted gears to track down exactly who this middle-aged man was. It didn't take long for the police to track him down and identify the man as someone named Choi. So, it turns out Choi's face was captured clearly on CCTV. The police were like, okay, that's our guy. They immediately pulled his records, found his address, and headed straight to his place. The police started staking out his house, but when they arrived at his residence, there was no sign of him anywhere. Since he hadn't shown up yet, the officers on the scene decided to start canvassing the neighborhood and questioning his neighbors for info. The police started asking around, "Who is this neighbor of yours? Is there anything weird or unusual about him? Have you noticed any suspicious activity lately?" And that's when one neighbor dropped a bombshell. They said, actually, yeah, I saw him dragging a massive suitcase out of his house. He left after that and hasn't been back since. So, with the CCTV footage, Choi's identity, and the neighbor's statements all piling up, the police finally had everything they needed. The police began combing the area, and they finally managed to track him down and make the arrest. Just 12 hours after Gia's body was discovered, on the 13th of September 2025, the man was hauled into the station for questioning. So, who exactly is Choi? Well, like I mentioned earlier, he's a man in his early 50s. And here's the plot twist. Choi was actually well known in the streaming world as a mysterious high roller. What do I mean by that? Well, he went by the handle Black Cat. Now, obviously, that's not his real name, but it's the username he used whenever he dropped those massive VIP donations. The Black Cat account was legendary for being one of the most generous donors on the platform. Every time he popped up in the comments, the chat would go wild because everyone knew a huge donation was about to hit. Now, what do I mean by huge donations? Are we talking $100? 200? Is it just some silly hat and mustache stickers? Or maybe a whale or a seal on TikTok? No, guys, it's nothing like that. Black Cat's donations could reach hundreds of millions of won. This made him one of the most influential VIP donors on the entire streaming platform. According to The Jungle, Choi actually ranked 46th out of the top 50 donors on TikTok. To even reach that level, you'd need to drop at least $75,000. That is absolutely insane. But what's even crazier is that in the world of live streaming, there's this thing called VIP donations. And basically, yeah, it's exactly as bad as it sounds. It's a setup where you can essentially donate your way into getting special treatment from your favorite streamers. And the kicker? That special treatment doesn't just stay online. And that's exactly what happened to Ji Ah. She got trapped in this sort of relationship with Black Cat without actually knowing who he was. They first crossed paths when she was just starting out. Ji Ah used to stream in the mornings, just casual chats where people could drop small donations. Then one day, out of nowhere, this account Black Cat shows up and drops a massive donation. He left a comment that said, "I believe you're going to be huge one day." It was such a simple sentence, but for Ji Ah, who was still struggling to make it at the time, it felt like an incredible amount of support. And with that massive donation on top of it, she couldn't help but think, wow, this person is actually really kind. From that moment on, Black Cat became a permanent fixture in her life. Every time she went live, every time she posted something, he was right there. They were constantly interacting. Eventually, convinced that he was just a genuine, loyal supporter, Ji Ah started interacting with him on a more personal level. Choi claimed he could afford those massive donations because he was the CEO of a successful IT company. Now, just like you, I'm sure we're all wondering what exactly was his job that allowed him to drop that kind of cash. He claimed to have multiple businesses, luxury cars, and some very powerful connections. He basically told her, don't worry, the online donations are just the beginning. But guys, it didn't stop there. It turns out Choi started sending her gifts offline, which means he already knew exactly where to find her. Over time, they started exchanging messages constantly, and their relationship turned into something much more personal. But as they got closer, the truth finally came out. Choi was actually quite a bit older. I'm talking a massive age gap here, guys. He was more than twice her age. Choi started positioning himself as her mentor, claiming he wanted to help Ji Ah become a top-tier influencer. It started with simple advice, but slowly, he began micromanaging her life. He started controlling her schedule and her appearance. He'd tell her things like, don't collaborate with that person, or don't work with that brand. And because Ji Ah was so naive at the time, she genuinely thought Choi's intentions were pure, that he actually cared about her success. She even started calling him mentor or CEO. Anyway, let's get back to Choi's arrest. When the police finally tracked Choi down, they brought him in, sat him down, and started grilling him about Ji Ah. He played it cool, acting like he had absolutely nothing to do with it. He was like, I don't have anything to do with this Ji Ah person. She's missing? I have no clue where she is. It's got nothing to do with me. But then, the police pulled out the CCTV footage, something Choi definitely didn't see coming. He never expected them to find a clear video of him dragging Ji Ah into his car so quickly. To make matters worse, the police told him, it's not just that Ji Ah is missing, we've already found her body. At that point, what else could Choi even say? It was the ultimate gotcha moment. He wasn't just caught red-handed, he was completely cornered. How do you talk your way out of that? You can't deny it when your own face is right there on the CCTV. He had no choice but to confess. He finally broke and said, "You're right. It was me. I'm guilty." So, the police told him to start from the beginning, every single detail, from the very first moment they met to the second he took her life. And that's when Choi finally started talking. He told them that his relationship with Ji Ah had taken a turn for the worse lately. Ji Ah had started to push back, telling him she felt suffocated and overwhelmed by his behavior. She felt like she was constantly being bossed around with an exhausting schedule that left her no room to breathe. She was feeling totally suffocated, so she started to distance herself from Choi and limit their interactions. But seeing her pull away only made him even more possessive. He started demanding to tag along to her film sets and streaming locations. It was getting to be too much for Ji Ah, and she was already planning to cut professional ties with him for good. Upon hearing about her plan to cut ties, on September 10th, Choi went to confront Ji Ah. And we can actually see this unfolding in the CCTV footage that's been circulating online. Choi actually went as far as getting down on his knees, begging her not to end their partnership. But even with him kneeling there, Ji Ah had already made up her mind. She was done. She stood her ground and moved forward with her plan to leave him. But that decision ended up backfiring. Choi completely lost it. He admitted that he couldn't control his emotions, snapped, and ended up taking Ji Ah's life. After taking Ji Ah's life, panic set in. He scrambled to find a large suitcase, stuffed her body inside, and drove out toward the mountains. Choi even admitted that he made 8 different stops along the way, thinking he could throw investigators off his trail. But it turned out to be completely useless, because the police weren't even looking at his route back then. So Choi was basically hoping the police would follow him to wherever Ji Ah was being held. But ironically, he got caught right at the spot where he'd hidden her. The police also suspect that Choi's primary motives were obsession and financial ruin. It turns out everything Choi said was a lie. Instead of profiting from his work with Ja, he ended up losing everything. And those flashy, massive donations he was making, that wasn't his own wealth, it was all funded by debt. So, basically, he was taking out predatory loans just to drop huge VIP donations and get close to famous live streamers. He promised to mentor them and act as their manager just to exploit them for profit. It's honestly terrifying. Can you imagine the debt he's in? I mean, the guy was dropping billions in donations. And the man behind Black Cat, the one everyone thought was this incredibly wealthy and generous donor, it was all a lie. He was actually broke. In a crazy twist of fate, his house was even being foreclosed on and auctioned off the very same day he took Ji Ah's life. The South Korean National Police have wrapped up the initial investigation, and while the case has moved to the courts, the legal battle is far from over. As we discussed this on Trace Zero, Choi has been officially convicted, but because he's currently appealing the court's decision, his final sentence is still hanging in the balance. As someone who works online, this hits way too close to home. We all have digital lives online, friends, DMs that go back years. Ji Ah's story is a haunting reminder that not everyone who looks kind or generous behind a screen is actually safe. Guys, stay safe online, be careful who you trust. Let's share Ji Ah's story so a tragedy like this never happens again. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for the next Trace Zero. If you're still watching this, maybe you're looking for the same thing I am.